What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is in theaters right now, and I've seen it. It's got narration done by Deluxe, narrated by Jedediah Barton. The film stars Owen Teague, Freya Allen, Kevin Durand, and William H. Macy. And this is directed by Wes Ball. So click that subscribe button because we're going to talk about it. Oh, yeah, we are. I went to the theaters for this. So, I love the Planet of the Apes films. I'm currently doing my second looks at the remake trilogy. And so this is oddly going to be released at the same time as Dawn because I still need to do War. I didn't quite plan this out the way I'd hoped, but c'est la vie. So Kingdom takes place 300 years after War. We'll talk about that, but it's important to note that they give you a little bit of a data dump at the beginning. So in case you haven't seen the first three films, which you should because they're great. But in case you haven't seen the first three, you get at least some like point of reference as to what the hell's going on. A little bit of a goodbye to Caesar's world and hello to a bright new future. Our protagonist ape is now Noah, played by Owen Teague, who is a younger ape. He's not really in charge of anything. He's part of this Eagle clan, this group of apes that hunts with eagles. They take an egg and then they bond with an eagle, and they sort of live comfortably in nature. They're living in their own community, and he's got a girlfriend and love interests. So it's really cute. And unfortunately for him, his entire clan is about to be raided by a much more dominating ape force, which he will then have to go on a hero's journey to rescue. Along the way, he'll pick up an orangutan named Raka, who seems to have a little bit more of a memory of the teachings of Caesar and tries to pass some of that along to Noah and, give us a little bit more of that because this is all about sort of like manipulating the words of Caesar. And we also have an adult, a human, played by Freya Allen, who plays May. Who is a human that has retained her ability to talk, and not just like barely, but like full sentences, like me. Like it'd be like if I was just in the movie, like, "Hey, what's up?" It's like she's not like word chunks. She actually has better conversational skills than the apes do. So, which is amazing because again, 300 years, not 30, not 100, 300. Comparable to like us versus like the early 1700s. I just like that's how much time has passed. Like I don't know what happened in 1724, but if that guy did my life nowadays, in a way where I was still thinking about the days of 1724, it's just very weird. I mean, I know we think about like Declaration of Independence and Revolutionary War and stuff, but not like all the time. I'm not sitting here all the time thinking about that. But apparently these guys do for 300 years. So it's a cool film. They run into lots of things along the way. The whole middle part of the film could have been shorter. It's a lot of action sequences that lead to eventually he gets to the kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And it's this not little, but area ruled by Proximus Caesar, who's played terrifically by Kevin Durand, who's everything. He's a charismatic leader, but also clearly rules with tyranny. But there is that necessary charisma that you would need in a character like that, that is there. The boasting and the also some very realist approach to life, and he is very ape centric. I've seen a lot of reviews about this that say that he's sort of taken Caesar's words out of, out of context, and maybe a little bit, but he's also is trying to further apes, um, in a way. So it's just he's doing it like 300 years later. It's the same thing that we have nowadays. Not to get super political about it, but we hold down, our, you know, Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and the arms were much different back then. You know what I'm saying? So we're living in a different world, and people are using that same right to bear arms. Well, he's kind of using the same thing, but now he's trying to get to things that Caesar would not have necessarily gotten into, because we have, after watching 3 films, we knew who Caesar was. And it's sort of that debate. It's like does that really apply to what you're actually doing? If you actually knew Caesar, then you would know that this is not what he would have wanted. So you're stretching the words, but you're also kind of technically still doing it for your apes. Although he is kind of also enslaving tribes and bringing them all together. But again, they're all together. So it's like, this is very weird thing where he sort of is like, I expected him to be a much worse villain than this, but he's sort of a relatable, understandable villain, which kind of makes him more complex, which is one of the reasons I liked him as a villain, is because you're like, I don't like the way you're doing this, but at the same time, I kind of get why you think this is a good idea. And that to me is scarier and more dangerous, is when you can actually look at it and go, I see the logical thought behind this. And it's definitely there with his performance. Owen Teague does a good job as Noah. The rest of the apes kind of come in and out because they're gone for most of the film, and it's just mostly Noah traversing the land with Raka and May, trying to get to, the kingdom. It's a large chunk of the movie. It's like an hour of the movie. And then the back half of the hour is the rest of it. So we have to spend quite a long time jumping cliffs and trees and avoiding other things, and just it's a thing. It gets you there eventually, but I definitely could have shortened part of this little chunk of this film and brought the runtime down just a tad. But I'm sure it looks fantastic. I'm sure that's the thing, is that I've seen the first 3 visually before I lost my vision, so I know what the visual effects look like for this franchise, and they're stunning. So I'm sure that the visual effects look on point here. Absolutely. The score is incredible. I like the performances. Freya Allen's May has gotten a lot of misguided. I've seen a lot of criticism towards her character doesn't need to exist. Why do we always need to have, Hollywood always makes this mistake of having a human character in here. Why do we have to, that's the thing about the apes, is that now they're the humans and we're seeing it through their eyes and we're telling their story, blah, 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 blah. Fuck that bullshit. She's, first of all, terrific. And second of all, absolutely, it would be so weird if there just were no humans. Like, we just never talked about humans the entire film, never saw them, or we just saw like references to weird, like, feral, but then they'd still be in the film. You know what I'm saying? There would still be, but they would just be feral. So your problem is that she can talk and she's not feral, basically. Maybe that's the valid point, is that she should have been less. She maybe should have felt more like 300 years has worn upon her. And I do have some problems. I'll get to that, because some of that lies in spoiler territory, but which will come at the end. I haven't spoiled anything significant yet. So it's she's she's got this sort of like, is she good, is she bad vibe to it, which I like, that she's a wild card. I think her story makes sense. Somebody said it was like a side quest in a video game. It's like, no, she's pretty much entrenched in here. She pretty much spends a lot of time teamed up with Noah. A side quest would be if we kept cutting over to May and like she wasn't with Noah and like following her on her own journey. We're like, who is this and what is it they're trying to do? That's a side quest. This is somebody who's teamed up. Like this is somebody who they end up at the same point in time, at least for a while together. So they may have ulterior motives. I mean, obviously May is not trying to rescue her clan from, uh, you know, from Proximus, but um, she very much has her own reasons for doing things, which I won't ruin for you. So, but I think the criticism there is it's just unwarranted. I don't think people put it there so that we could see the world through her eyes, because the world through her eyes is very much um, jaded. Once you realize what her viewpoint is, it's not Noah's point. And Noah is such a kind and caring character that it becomes really hard for you to be like, well, we have a human here, so we can see it through the human's eyes. I don't see the world through May's eyes. I'm actually concerned about how the way May sees the world. And I think May gets a little concerned about how she sees the world too, how she's been taught to see the world because she's met someone like Noah. So, I think, all of the doom and gloom that she's been taught growing up, it's challenged her when she meets somebody like Noah and she starts meeting the Eagle clan and realizes that there are apes that are, just trying to live, just trying to do their own thing. They're not really trying to like harm anybody or hurt anybody. They're living much like indigenous tribes used to, just sort of like with the land and with nature, just sort of doing what they can, just not bothering anybody, just they just want to live. And this film, it offers a lot of really interesting ideas, thoughts, and complexes and stuff like that. William H. Macy's character kind of pops up, whatever, his name is dumb, but other than that, Trevathian or something like that. I was like, what? Why is it that we've got like Noah over and meanwhile humans have gone into like Trevathian, like, but yeah. So, and also May, by the way, we have like May and then we have Trevathian. It's like, at what point in his generation did they just start naming people stuff like Trevathian? So, I think I can say that because I don't think there's anybody out there named Trevathian, but maybe there is. Maybe there's one person, they're going to watch this review and be like, are you making fun of my name? And I'm like, I didn't know this was a name until this movie. So, there you go. Yeah, it's just kind of like a predictable William H. Macy performance. There's not much to it. He's there and he's gone. It's just like 5 minutes, it's just in and out. But mostly, yeah, this is Owen Teague, Freya Allen, and Kevin Durand's film, and I think they all do really good work. But the truth is, nobody really does what Andy Serkis could do as Caesar, bringing that emotion, that level of emotion, that level of exploration and stuff. Owen Teague probably gets really close here. It's not really fair because I could see all of the facial expressions that Andy Serkis brought in here. I can't necessarily see the nuances in the work that Owen brings to Noah, but I just really love the work that Andy Serkis did. And when I mentioned it in my Rise review, I said he absolutely should have gotten an Oscar nomination, because I long have believed that at some point during Andy Serkis' career that he should have gotten an Oscar nomination for something that he did in mocap. He's one of the greatest actors to have touched mocap, and he really creates these fully fleshed out, rounded out characters. And the fact that he was never nominated for playing either Gollum or Caesar in 3 films, two trilogies, plus he did play Kong, but I mean, he's done a lot of mocap work, and it's all been great, and everybody talks about how great he is, and then just nobody nominates him. Anyway, so I really enjoyed Kingdom. The audio description here is fantastic. It's definitely going to make my list, my end of the year list. Absolutely. Jedediah, I know he. Uh, the thing about Deluxe is that it's like narrated by. I don't know who wrote the script, but whoever wrote the script is on fire. Just this script is so detailed. The film does not have an extensive amount of dialogue to it. The apes talk, but they also still sign, so they don't always talk. They talk more than they've talked in previous films, which makes sense because, again, 300 years and they've moved forward. Um, but they still do a lot of sign language. And so there's a lot of narration that has to happen in terms of all of the action sequences that are happening and the signing. And we have eagles that fly in. It's not like the eagles have learned how to talk. They didn't benefit from this. So we have a lot of eagles that are doing things that we have to keep track of. So I really liked Jedediah's narration. My theater's audio description equipment was ass. So I can really only comment just so far on it. But I do feel like what I got out of it, I can tell you, it was just exceptional. It's, experience is another video for another day. Yeah, so it's a film I definitely would recommend. I do think, though, that there's something to be said for the fact that the original trilogy was solid as is, and that Matt Reeves really did kind of come up with a conclusion. And then Kingdom does feel like we came along and we're like, we think there's more to the story. And I think there could be more to the story here. And we've done this before, and where we've written something and then we've come back later and we've tried to extend the life of a franchise and even tie it back into the original trilogy or whatever. This isn't the first time that we've done that. And a lot of times the extended stuff the secondary stuff doesn't feel quite as good as the first stuff, but sometimes it can evolve into it. So it just depends on where it goes. I really enjoyed Jurassic World. I just didn't enjoy the sequels. That would be an example. Another example would be the Matthew Vaughn's X-Men First Class, which kind of started new, but also referenced the fact that it wasn't a completely new universe. They did try to recruit. Hugh Jackman makes a cameo as Wolverine, so it's obviously the same, just a prequel sort of thing going on. We did Lord of the Rings, but then we did the Hobbit trilogy. So I feel like this could be something that goes somewhere, but also I don't like where it goes at the end of this. And that's where, spoilers, a little bit of spoilers. So we're going to talk a little bit about spoilers here. I'm sorry, but in case you're wondering why my grade is where it is, it has a little bit to do with a couple of the things that lie almost squarely in spoiler territory. So I'm gonna say that I'm giving the film a B+, and then I'll tell you why I'm giving it a B+, which is down from the grades of the previous films. Even though I love this franchise, this is the lowest grade I've actually given a Planet of the Apes film in this series. So the reasons being, first of all, the first thing that I noticed was I got the Proximus wanted to get in and get the weapons, and he knew what was in there, and he was like, if I could get in there, that's going to change everything for us if we can get all that stuff. I saw there was one critic, the Critical Drinker. I love him. He's fantastic. He was talking about like how we've never seen the apes face off against like a rocket or something like that, but we've also never seen the apes fly a helicopter. And we got really close because if Proximus had opened that up, he would have gotten all this access to all this technology and everything, which is what May was trying to stop him from doing. But May gets in the facility and she knows how to turn shit on like immediately. Shit she's never seen before, that she's never been in that facility before. She's just sort of been told and she's been given a map. And she got in there and everything just came like really easy to her in a place she's never been. And it should have taken just a little bit more time for her to get acclimated to a space that she herself, like, there should have been some wonder to it for her. Some like, oh yeah, wow, this place really does exist. Oh, all this stuff really is here. um, because they shut this stuff away a long time ago. So this stuff is history for her. This would be like if I just stumbled into something sort of like National Treasure style, and then I just didn't give it any reverence. You know, I'm like, wow, we really did hide this down here. Oh, I knew this was down here. Never mind. Actually, there's a switch on the wall over here. And you know, just she just kind of moves through it really quickly. And I know that time is of the essence, but at the same time, I kind of wanted her to be like, wow, check this out, you know? Um, and then also, at the end of it, I was thinking, I was like, 300 years have passed, and there's like a community of like scientists. Like there's like people in hazmat suits and stuff like that, and they're like trying to use computers and connect to satellites and stuff. And I was like, do you realize how hard that would be to keep up that level of education and system when there's like, I feel like, yes, we've jumped 300 years, so you don't get to do any explaining. I get that. But from where we left off in war to now, I feel like somehow we've increased the level of education while also we were headed more feral. So, like, how did we get to these people? Where did these people come from, and how do they know how to do all this stuff? Because I wouldn't know how to do anything from 1724 based on the fact that it happened in 1724. You know, I know how to do what I do today because of how we've evolved, uh, and the education system that has evolved, and population growth and stuff like that. But things that we did in 1724, I can't churn butter, you know, like I don't know how to do that. So skills that were developed 300 years ago, I don't have those skills. I have a different skill set. But yet these people have the same skill set as people from 300 years ago. So it's like time hasn't passed, but we gave them a giant gap of time. And I feel like if you're going to do that, the gap of time should not have been as big. It'd have been a lot more easier and believable if it was just 100 years later than 300 years later. So I didn't quite, I was a little bit like, this is a bit much, when we got to the end of it, when they showed what was happening and what was going on, and how I was like, man, these people are way more involved. They're like more legit than where we left off in war. And that doesn't make any sense for me, because it felt like we were headed in a downwards trend, and you would have had to like re-educate and pop back up, and we should have seen, you know, there are feral humans. So how? And I feel like this film doesn't do anything to answer it. It doesn't even care about answering it. Wes Ball's not the most talented director in the world. Like the first Maze Runner was good, but the sequels are not that good. So he directed one banner first film, and then got some sequels, and then he got Kingdom. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, there were a couple little problems, but the point is the audio description is fantastic. My theater has absolutely no idea how to handle audio description, but other than that, with just hilariously awful experiences, and that, you know, just zero care into anything. Just the sound quality was popping in and out, and no matter how high I turned up the volume, the theater volume was still way louder. And so during certain loud sequences, I completely obliterated my audio description. I couldn't hear it at all because the action sequences were louder than my headset could possibly produce the audio description. So hilarious. Anyway, that's it. That's my review. So I went to the theaters for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know this is a long review, but guess what? I just sit through 30 minutes of previews. So you can sit through this review. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.